Hi folks, I'm Kevin Gainey, and today I want to share with you 5 tips for getting less done. And no, that's not a typo. It is a tactic that we can use to make sure that what we're doing in our lives is what really needs to be done. You know, the world is always throwing more at us. We can always find an offer to buy something or do something or go somewhere, or advertisements to have this and add this, and you need this to be perfect, and you need this dress or this car, you need to live in this zip code. Everything coming at us is made to have us to want to consume and do and be more. Now, being more is not always a bad thing, but we have to be very intentional about how we want to become the type of person that will help us reach our goals. So we can learn a lot of things from people that fall into the group of high performers. Those are people that are like in the upper echelon of their sport, their business, whatever it is that they're doing. They're in the top 2 to 3%. They take what they're doing, their job, and whether that's a hobby or what they get paid to do or just something that they enjoy helping others, they do that very well and they take it very seriously. They don't necessarily do more, but they do less and they do it better. And they get very intentional about creating things that are in what's called their primary field of interest. Now, your primary field of interest may be if you're a stay-at-home mom, it's going to be how do you run your household, or if you're a stay-at-home dad, how do you keep things going with the kids and how do you balance that? Or if you're in a business, you're running your own business, how do you manage that? What are your key activities that you want to cover and make sure to get your attention in those high leverage activities? So let's jump into some training and let's look real quick at 5 things to help you do less. First of all, you have to get really clear on what you want. I think it is, Alice in Wonderland, where she asked, which road should I take? And it's, I think it's maybe the caterpillar, I forget now what it says. Depends on where you want to go. If you don't know where you want to go, any road will get you there. So you have to get really clear on what you want, whether that is a specific goal of something you want to achieve, or whether it's just the type of person that you want to become, the type of habits and disciplines that you want to instill in your life. And then after you are clear on what you want to end up as or where you want to go, you have to set short-term goals. Now, we're all used to long-term planning. When I say short-term goals here, I literally mean 12 weeks, 90 days, 3 months, however you want to phrase it, but somewhere in that time frame. Because when you set a goal that's a year out, New Year's comes around, somebody sets a goal, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, or I'm going to be in shape, or I'm going to run a half marathon by December 31st. January 2nd rolls around and their shoes are still sitting there, or they haven't been to the gym, and they're thinking, well, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start the next day. And then we all know what happens. The next day gets here, and guess when we decide to start then? The next day. So a short-term goal gives you that sense of urgency, but the good part is when you're looking at something like 90 days or 3 months, you have enough time to make something legitimate happen. Like if you have big audacious goals to write a book, create an online course, run a half marathon, all of those training programs and all the tools that are going to coach you to do those things, they're going to take about that amount of time to be able to do it and to do it well. And so over the course of those 90 days, you have to take consistent action to get there to reach your goal. You can't put it off till tomorrow, but it's also long enough that you can get a lot done. It's not like a 1 week or 2 week goal where you can't get a whole lot accomplished. Here's where a lot of us fall short, myself included. I used to be really good at saying, this is what I want, I'm going to do this in 3 months, and what do I need to do tomorrow? And instead, I would not have a very solid plan. And it's a wreck, it's a hot mess. So you have to go in and say, okay, where do I want to be in 3 months? Okay, what has to happen for that to happen next? So let's say you want to write a book in 3 months. And let's say you want to write a 50,000 word book. 3 months, you're going to have it sent to the publisher. What needs to have happened by then? Well, you need to have found a publisher. You need to have written 50,000 words. Let's just focus on the words, forget the publisher. You've written 50,000 words. How are you going to write 50,000 words? Well, let's see, you've got 12 weeks. Let's say 10 weeks, we'll write 1,000 words for 5 days a week. There's your 50,000 words. And that'll give you the last 2 weeks to edit it and send it off. So let's just say that there you've worked backwards. So now you know that each week, for 5 days out of that week, you're going to write 1,000 words towards that goal. And you can break that down, but you start with where you want to end up, and you just keep asking the question, what would have to happen to make this a reality, or what would have to happen for this to be true? And then take that event, ask the same question, you keep moving back, and eventually you get to the point where, oh, well, here's the one small thing that I can do today, or I can put on my calendar for tomorrow and make that happen to get me closer to that goal. So after we have our solid plan, we want to measure what matters. There are 2 different types of metrics when we're talking about setting a goal and tracking our progress. One of those is our effectiveness. How effective are we in what we're doing? So let's say we wanted to write that 50,000 words for that book. Did we write 50,000 words? That's either a yes or a no. We either did it or we didn't. Did we lose the weight? We didn't, or we did. Or did we run the marathon or the half marathon, or did we not? Were we not able to finish it? Were we not able to train? And what is often a better indicator of what's going to make someone successful is their execution score, how well they are at making things happen. So, effectiveness compares your current progress to your desired result. Execution metrics, they track your effort, what you're putting in. Now, you have direct control over your effort. You don't always have direct control over the end result. So let's say maybe you didn't finish the marathon because it was 20 degrees hotter that day and you hadn't trained at anything above 80 degrees when it was time to run, and it was just an anomaly and it took you out of your game. But if you executed and you ran 4 or 5 days a week and you ramped up, then you've already established that habit. You've become the type of person that can take that and run it into the next marathon or the half marathon and make that happen, as opposed to, you could go out there and not train and you could run a half marathon. It may hurt and you are going to wonder why you agreed to do it, but you're going to be like, I met my goal. But it's not sustainable. It wouldn't be the type of person that even if you got the medal and came in first place, you're going to get hurt. Because you're not training, you're not taking care of yourself. So it's the consistent execution that helps people reach their goals. So put this in a little example here, like with the books, 50,000 words, 1,000 words a day for 5 times a week. If we're looking at our effectiveness, week 1, we wanted to have written 5,000 words. We wrote 5,500 words. Great, we met our goal, sort of. Let's look at how we did those 5,500 words. First day we wrote 1,000 words, we got our goal. Next day, man, I'm tired, I did a lot, wrote those 1,000 words yesterday, I'm gonna watch 2 seasons of something on Netflix. The next day, now you're too lazy to write, you're too tired because you stayed up watching Netflix. Let's say Thursday, you're like, oh crap, I gotta make up for this. So you crank out 2,000 words, but you're spent, you can't do any more. Friday, you write 2,500 just so you can say that you met your goal. Now that's noble. You met your goal. But let's look at it another way. Your execution score. You only wrote 3 out of 5 days. That's an execution score of 60%. How successful do you think you will be in the long run if you only execute and do what you say you're going to do 60% of the time? Now I know that's a little different if you start using batting averages in baseball. You'd be twice what a Hall of Famer is, but in the real world, you're never going to get to 100% execution because life happens. We have to be flexible. We have to adjust our plans. But I think a 60% execution score, most of you would say, that's not me. I don't want to be that person. I want to be somebody who's consistently nailing it, bringing my A game, and making it happen. So you have control over your effort to try to get that score up. And you are more likely to reach your 50,000 word goal without all the stress of cramming 3,000 words a day into the last week, or staying up late, not eating, not working out because you're trying to focus on the end result and not what it takes to become a writer. All right. Last one, again, execute consistently. And once you've got your plan, you know what you're measuring, it's that daily execution that matters. Most plans fail not because of poor planning, but because of poor execution. And our tendency is to say, wow, my plan was no good. I really need to go back and reformulate another plan. Well, we were only doing what we said we were going to do 60% of the time. It wasn't the plan that sucked. It was our effort. It was our execution. It was our keeping our commitment to ourselves or even to other people for what we were going to do. So, what can you do next? To get started on these 5 steps, I've got 6 questions you can ask yourself. Number 1, start. What's one area of your life you want to improve? Maybe it's running, maybe it's writing, maybe it's spending more time with your kids. This works for things that aren't tangible because you can measure how well did I spend 30 minutes a day with my kids. Take the number you did times 7 days a week, you get your execution score. You know, you've got a goal for where you want that to be. You know, what's the one thing that would lead to improvement in this area? Like I said, you want to improve your relationship with your kids. I'm going to spend at least 30 minutes a day just asking them about their day and listening to them and seeing and connecting with them and building a stronger bond. What would need to happen to reach your goal? How are you going to make that happen? You know, are you going to put the time in your calendar? Or are you going to just do it on the car ride home where everybody used to have their earbuds in and they're driving along and their kids are playing games on their phone and you're just driving, taking a call? Are you going to use that half hour of a commute time to talk to them? You have to plan it out. You have to be intentional or it won't happen. When will you schedule that first step? What are you going to do next to make it a reality? And then, what can you measure about your execution? Like I said, are you going to measure the number of days that you talk with your children for 30 minutes a day? Or are you going to talk about how many date nights you went on with each child in a month? You know, what are the other ways that you can measure that? And you have to find a place to track that. So over time, you can see, hey, am I making progress? Am I staying consistent? And then when will you review your progress and adjust your behavior if necessary? Now, it may be that you realize that 30 minutes a day is not realistic. So I need to do 2 one-hour blocks during a week, and that allows me to go deeper with my kids in conversation, but it doesn't feel like I'm trying to force something every day by talking to them. So you have to find a way, it's not a bad thing to adjust your plan if you're executing on your plan. If you're not executing and you're just willy-nilly changing plans, then you don't really know if it's the plan or your execution. So there you have it, 5 steps for doing less, but doing it a hell of a lot better. And then here you have 6 questions for getting started. I would love to know what big, audacious goals that you have that you're willing to go out there and crush. So leave a comment here, and I'd love to hear from you. Have a great time.